Alright, welcome back to the Quick Speed Shop. What I got going on today is we're going to do a little walk around on my 1946 Studebaker M5 series truck. So here it is. This is my 1946 Studebaker M series M5 truck. It's a half-ton truck. I've owned this truck since 1993. Originally my uncle bought it in Pennsylvania in 1969. Then my dad had it in the early 70s. He had it stock height with a small block Chevy, a 350 and a 4-speed in it with some mag wheels, but never got it on the road. And then it came apart and it went into storage from like 76 to 93 when I started working on it. I've got some pictures that I can put up here in a second to show some of the framework and a couple early shots of the truck. It's got a 1970 Camaro subframe, power steering, power disc brakes. It's got a quick ratio box out of like an 83 or so Grand Prix. The sheet metal is all stock except for the front wheel wells here. I cut the wheel well, it used to be here, I cut 3 inches out of the front wheel wells to get the tires to clear. The rear is a stock fenders on the back. All the sheet metal is stock. My dad and I louvered the hood. It's got the accessory hood ornament here. Originally this truck just had a smooth piece of chrome. I had another truck I put this on. I got some Appleton driving lights on the front bumper. It's lowered about 6-7 inches in the front and about 6 inches in the back. This is the original box. This is a Bud box. It's off a 37 Dodge, but Bud, as in Bud Wheel Company, made the beds for Studebaker and Dodge. I found this, it was made into a trailer. I found it in a barn and I've used it because the original box in this truck was in pretty rough shape. In the 90s, what I did is I built my own box. I used a Chevy S10 floor and I had a mini tub so I could get about a 12-inch wide tire on the back, and it had a louvered tailgate, louvered rear, rolled rear pan, 75 Cadillac taillights in it. I'll show you a picture of that here. And you got to understand, when this truck was originally built, I was thinking about it in the early 90s, from probably about 1990 or so till when I started working on it in 93. So that was the era of bright colors, pastel colors, splash graphics, all that on street rods. Everything was smooth, no bumpers, none of that. You know, chromatic, one color paint schemes, no chrome. So originally this truck, if you can believe it, was going to be painted lime sublime green with purple scallops, plum crazy purple scallops or flames on it. I had the headlights painted lime sublime, and I had the wheels, I had Chevy rally wheels, I had those lime sublime green, and everything else was just in primer. You know, fast forward 20 years, I've got more of a retro ride going to this now. The bumper's back on it, hood ornaments, some accessory fog lights, put the running boards back on, went to stock paint scheme on the wheels. The whole truck's going to be forest green eventually, the original green, but I've gone back to like a resto mod look to it here. Overall the truck's pretty much stock sheet metal. It's just lowered, and we'll take a look under the hood. What I have here under the hood is an AMC 258 Street 6. This is out of a 1983 AMC Spirit. It's all stock. I've got a 66 Plymouth air cleaner, 2-barrel air cleaner on this. 4-wheel drive hardware, aluminum valve cover, aftermarket aluminum radiator. I went and I cut the original firewall back. So originally when I built this truck, I had a 66 Plymouth Fury that was my great-grandmother's car that had 60,000 miles on it, and she had stopped driving it in the 80s, and it sat in her barn for about 15 years. So we got it, I cut the car up, I took the Polysphere wide block 318 727 transmission and 8 3/4 inch limited slip rear end, sure grip rear end out of the Plymouth. I had the Poly 318 in here, set back into the firewall about that far with a 727 and all that. The engine was also painted lime sublime green, and I still have the engine. I pulled it out in I think about 2006, and I put this 6-cylinder in it. I lost about 100 horsepower, but originally this truck was a 6-cylinder, so this is kind of cool. It's different. I was into American Motors cars. I had half a dozen of them back in the mid-2000s. So this is an engine that came from my buddy Jim out of a Spirit GT, and it had about 120,000 miles on it then. It's got probably about 140 on it now. It runs good. It's got a little bit of blow by. You can see it leaks oil here, but it fires right up every day. It runs good. It runs down the road. I've got an AMC 727 transmission out of a Matador behind it, and I'm still running the 8 3/4 sure grip rear end with 323 gears. Everything's reliable. I mean, this is a $100 engine. You can buy all the parts at the auto parts store dirt cheap to fix it, and I've never really had any issues with it whatsoever. So when I did the interior of this truck, smooth was in. This is a stock dashboard which had panels here. The original gauges were here. And then I had a black off plate here. It could have had a radio grill or a plain panel here, and a glove box here. And this panel down here I fabricated. I built all this stuff when I was about 15, 16 years old, put all this dash together. This is actually these VDO gauges I bought in 1993. They're the most expensive part I ever bought for the truck. I think they were $239 at the time, which was a lot of money for a kid in 1993. So the steering column's out of an 85 Chevette. I was into pick and pull yards back then, pretty heavy. Originally when I put this truck together, my dad gave me the cab and I had the drivetrain for free, but most of the other parts I got from the local pick and pull, and I had this truck on the road in 1999 for about $2,600 altogether, out the door running and driving. That's with like new brakes, new gaskets and all that stuff in the engine, new gauges. But I did all the work myself with the help of my dad. I did all the sandblasting. I sandblasted this entire cab. Like I said, we louvered the hood. We primered it all. I built the whole box of the truck. We did all suspension work. I think the only thing I had built at the time was the exhaust system. We towed the chassis down and had a simple dual exhaust system built on the truck. But everything else, we did at home. And so my plans are for the future is I'm going to leave the tilt column in here because I can't go full resto mod. The thing's been changed too much to be, like a true traditional looking truck. So I'm going to leave the tilt column in here because it's handy. The jam column, the truck's already wired up to plug into the jam column. But I do have 2 more dashboards I've got out of parts trucks. I'm going to take the smooth dashboard out. I'm going to put an original style dash in this with original gauges here. I'll have the speedometer working. And then I'm going to hide these small gauges in a panel down below here where I can still use them, but they won't. So this will have the stock dash in it. There's stock interior kits available for these trucks now. I'm going to get some stock door panels and headliner kit for this, and pretty much make it as stock as I can look on the inside. I'd say altogether it's probably got about 32 to 34,000 miles on it since 1999. I've driven this truck to South Bend, Indiana, to the Studebaker Museum out there. I've driven it to York, Pennsylvania several times. I've driven it to work just about every day. It's been all over the place, and it's never let me down. It runs good. It's even got a heater that works. So it's a nice truck. They're different. You don't see them every day. When I started building this truck, you hardly saw any of them around. I mean, I got a handful of pictures from 10 years of being a kid looking at them, and probably only saw 4 or 5 at the time. Now they're a little more popular, but they're still something pretty rare you don't see. I mean, this body style they made from 41 to 48, and with the war in the middle, there's not that many of them around. All right, here's the rear of the truck. I've got the original tailgate to the truck on here. Some 60s aftermarket taillights, which originally this truck had 1 taillight on the driver's side, so it's got 2 taillights now with turn signals. Originally this truck, the rear bumper would have been an option. This truck had the rear bumper on it factory, but the front bumper and the rear bumper are chrome bumpers that match. And I have a trailer that I'll show you in a minute that I made out of another Studebaker box, and I wanted to be able to tow that, and so I made this aftermarket style 40s 50s truck bumper just out of plain channel steel, and so I could put the hitch in the back of it. So I made this bumper, but it's something that would have been available on a truck like this if you went to like an aftermarket supplier back in the day. So I think it fits the look of the truck pretty good. So I made this. It's still the stock leaf springs in the back. Like I said, this is a 37 Dodge box that I got. It is actually about 6 inches shorter than the Studebaker box, but you know, without seeing two trucks side by side, you can't really tell that. I've gone more back to a traditional resto mod look with the truck, but eventually I'm going to sandblast this box. When I paint the whole truck, this will get all straightened out and done up nice, and it'll look just like the original style box. I'll dig up the trailer, I'll pull that out, we'll check that out, and then we'll go for a ride in the truck, and then I'm going to go to the estate sale. Oh, suddenly it's got super humid out here. I'm sweating like crazy digging this trailer out. But here it is. This is a sweat hands. It's a 41 to 48 M Series M5 Studebaker box. It was made into a trailer, I don't know when, but it was in a junkyard, and I found it in the late 90s over in town, and it took about, I don't know, 7-8 years of me going there and asking the guys who own the junkyard if I could buy it, because I told them I had this truck, and originally it had about a 5-foot high wooden cap, homemade cap on it, and it was full of 55-gallon drums of used motor oil, like 6 of them. So I had to get it, wrestle all the oil in drums out of the trailer, take them up so they could recycle it, and then I bought it for I think $80, and then I tore all the wood cap off of it, and it was painted flat black already. It had a trailer axle under it. It had just some sheet metal fenders. I had these original style fenders. They're all rotted, the seams are all rotted, but this axle is wider than the truck stock axle was. So I just scabbed together some strips and I just widened it up, just welded them right on and welded it up, and widened the fenders to clear the axle. It's got the original steel floor in it, original tailgate. I put these tail lights on it, but there it is, a Studebaker box trailer that matches my Studebaker truck. we go. Got to see a little walk around and drive action of the Studebaker here. Had a nice day driving around. Like I said, I've had this truck for 25 years, and I never get tired of it. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, hit the button over here. Bink. Hit the bell for the alerts. I put out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again at the Quick Speed Shop.